Welcome, Coyote and Bear fans, and specifically Mustang fans, or anybody with a car that's trying to work on it in their garage and trying to use the redneck rocker system that I've developed for tipping my Mustang up and down. Right now you can kind of see it up in the up position. The interesting thing to me is how close that hood is to clearing the roof of my garage, because I don't have a huge garage, okay? And I suspect a lot of you guys that are trying to do the work that I'm doing here are not going to have a huge garage either. To cover it again in other videos, I'm going to tag these with redneck rocker. So the hashtag, you can see these are just plain old casters that you can buy at Tractor Supply. They're made in China. Wish they were made here, but they're made in China. They will hold 900 pounds apiece, which is more than adequate for the body of this car. Okay? The body sans the engine is around that much. And don't forget, too, we're not rolling it around the garage this way. We're simply tipping. Now, one of the benefits of this system is that it kind of acts like a detent because of the way that those are at an angle just slightly over top dead center in either direction. So the car doesn't want to, once it's in the up position or the down position, it doesn't want to move. You have to kind of give it a nudge to get it over the top of the one side or the other. And we're talking maybe 20 pounds of force. It isn't a huge amount to lift this thing up. One person can do it with no issues. They don't have to be some muscle man. So the only concern I had when I developed this was, what if, and maybe here we can get a better shot, what if those guys want to fall off the jack stands? Because don't forget, on either side, probably about 900 pounds of force holds that wheel in the jack stand. But that's not good enough. I don't want to find out that, one of them slipped off, and I don't want to find myself under the car at that moment. So I thought about it some, and I'm making safeties. And these safeties are basically some threaded rod, which you can pick up at Lowe's or Home Depot or Tractor Supply, probably even. It's just 5/16 18 threaded rod. Pick yourself up some nuts. You're going to need a lot of these anyway for this project. I'm going to try and get a bill of materials together for just this whole setup in case anybody wants to do it. But some threaded rod. These are about 4.5 inches long, if I remember right. Let's get the dimensions of everything. So, where is it? Here it is. Sorry about the chaos in my shop. This is creation in progress, folks. So the threaded rod itself, about 4 inches long, okay? And these guys, I can tell you, are really simple dimensions. The dimensions here, 2.75 on center. So you just measure up a couple of bolts or some threaded rod, 2.75 inches on center. Get yourself some washers for the 5/16 18. That's what these are. And then these little pieces are just some, I think they're 1/2 inch wide. Yeah, 1/2 inch wide by, that's not an 1/8. It's probably 3/16. Plain old steel, okay? And you just mark it off at 3.5 inch intervals, okay? And weld them on like so. So what I do is I tape off the threads on these bolts because I'm probably going to use those bolts at some point. Where's my little hammer? I'll use the big one. Okay. So I put the washers down here and I tag them with the welder, and that keeps them, in place. And then basically, once you've developed this system, where you've got these, you put them on either side of your jack stand. Can you see how it works? And the thread goes through these holes here, and you've got yourself a system with hooks, which look like, let me show you what one of the hooks looks like. This. So the next video you'll see it welded together. What happens is you have to take and weld these hooks in place, and it'll be more like that. And then the hooks sit in the wheel, and these it all holds it together, and it'll hold them on the jack stands. All right. Okay, just a mid shot here before I weld. None of this is exact science, folks. The washers are in the rough position because the posts are about 2.75 apart. That's just a clamp holding pressure against the bolts, which I need some padding. I'm probably going to stick some tape on either side of those, little pieces of duct tape on the inside of those metal strips there. Okay, so here you can see I'm using the actual ground for my welder as a clamp, and duct tape, very small pieces, just so I have clearance on the threaded rod, so it's not like really tight on these metal strips. I want them to clear the metal rod going in here. See, and if they're too close, then it's going to make it a real pain in the butt to get that in and out. And we're just going to weld down in these spots here. Bum 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 bum, tack 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 tack. I need 2 more of these. I've got 2 right now. See, I need 2 more just like it. This is galvanized steel. Don't inhale when you weld. Something to know. Okay, keep your schnoz away from it, and you're good. All right. As you can see, the wheels are kind of centered on the jack stands now, and the shackles are kind of helping them be centered. These are just finger tight. They don't need to be wrenched down or anything. The whole idea is to prevent the wheel from wanting to pop off of the jack stand. Again, you got about 900 pounds of force holding that wheel against the flat surface of the jack stand. You would need some serious force to shove them off, okay? And the shackles are really straightforward. This is all just 1-inch angle iron, 1/2 inch 3 x 3/16 flat. These are not, I think these are 1/2s. Is what I used for the nuts and threaded rod and washers, and welded 2.75 inches on center this way. Let's see if I can get this right. This way. Okay. And these are 3.5 inches long, and yeah, it's just some straightforward welding. I think I fabbed them in about maybe an hour of real shop time. The rest of it was think time. Now I've done all the thinking for you. If you need to make them, shouldn't take you all that long. You can see they're just on there holding my wheel in place. That's the whole idea. Now to get the final centering done, I just jack up from this side of the frame rail, because otherwise you're going to be picking it up off the ground. Remember, this thing's bolted at the center line of the weight distribution of the car. To pick it up, you jack it up on that end with support on this end. See the support? And sort of center the wheel on the jack stand. Put your shackles in place, hand tighten them, and you're good. That thing isn't going to slip out. And these frame rails cost me a whopping $35, I think, in raw steel, and I had leftover steel when I was done. They are 62 inches long, cut at angles at the end. I'm just going to put some 1/8 inch plate on the ends of them and call it a day. They're super stiff, and they give you a really nice channel for your exhaust system and driveline components. And I'll get a video of my yellow Mustang to show what it's like. And again, this is all Dan Woderski, who showed me how to do this, and I'm in debt to him for showing me how to weld too, even though, Dan, I'm sorry about these welds. They were the best I could do at the time. He's teaching me and I'm learning. I'm going to grind all that off. No one will ever know. Let's take a look at using this system now that it's in place. All right. Okay, let's use this thing. You can see let's take a look at the side view of this. The magic spot there is going to depend on your car and the components in your car. Battery in the trunk, whatever. You're going to have to decide where that center line is. What I did is moved it up and down until I was able to tip the car one way or the other. All right? Up and down meaning forward and back of the frame rail. So let's use it, shall we? Note that it's sitting pretty squarely in the down position right now, and if I'm working on it, it's going to stay that way. But when I want to try the engine out, I'm going to use the one hand here. I just lift it up, and it tips up into place. And right now it's sitting, this is important, it's sitting on the axle on the rear tires. When I pull that axle out, and there are no tires to stop it, it's going to tip. It's not going to want to tip, first of all. I'm going to have to move those. The center point of the car is going to move toward the middle. So I plan on doing this, by the way. When I pull the axle out, I want to work on the back of the car, and I will move that jack stand further to the right, and then I'll be able to tip the car up and work on the back of it. So it gives you more space to work on something like this right here is at arm's height. For me, I'm, maybe a little bit less vertically challenged than some people. And just in general, for trying out an engine fitment, the way to go. Anyways, I'll pull that axle assembly. I'll have to move the rocker assembly a little bit to the forward, to the middle of the car. Then I'll be able to work on the bottom half of the car the same way I'm working on the front. And then when I put the new axle in place, I'll have to readjust again and set it down. But by then, the belly pan of the car will all be treated the way I want it to, and we'll all be good. So, that's all. Hope you're enjoying the ride. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell your friends.